Welcome to Sports Chat with Matt. We got T-Jax joining us, our first ever reoccurring guest on Sports Chat with Matt. So I'm very thankful to have him on. If you don't know who he is, former Badger point guard, one of the most clutch players ever in Wisconsin history, and in my opinion, the most underrated point guard in Wisconsin history. T-Jax, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Matt. Man, good to see you. Thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be on Sports Chat with Matt.
Yes,
See
sir.
the pod has grown a lot. See you doing your thing. See you got the new cut. You know what I mean? The
Yes,
new
sir.
look,
Yeah, I mean, fresh
new
man.
everything. Good to see you, though, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, and I want to say thank you to everybody because I reached 100 subscribers. That was a goal of mine by the end of the year, and I hit it.
That's good.
So, anybody who subscribed, thank you very much. And if you're new to the show, I love talking about college basketball, particularly in the state of Wisconsin. And combat sports too is also my thing, especially boxing. So, if you're into that, make sure to subscribe for more content. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's break down this Marquette-Wisconsin game. First off, I want to get into the two games both Marquette and Wisconsin played earlier in the week because I think it had an impact in the game Saturday. Marquette played Baylor and they destroyed them, the number 6 team in the country. They didn't meet much resistance at all. And then Wake Forest came into the Kohl Center and won a down to the wire game. And I think that was very important because Wisconsin was out of character against Wake Forest, where they did not play great defense. So far, this team has proven that they are a really good defensive team, but offensively, it's kind of been the struggle.
Yeah.
And they actually did pretty well offensively against Wake Forest, but defensively, they weren't up to the task. And then I think the reason why that was so important heading this game Saturday is you got Wisconsin upset. Wahl and the leaders were very upset in that press conference. I think they were locked in. They were lasered in practice the next few days. And Marquette was probably feeling themselves like, hey, we just took out Baylor and there was no resistance. Like they got up big against Baylor and Baylor had no resistance. Marquette was just, doing a pass or two or driving and dishing, open three. And they smacked Baylor in the face. Baylor had no answer. So what do you think about that theory where I think that the two games that each team played on Tuesday had kind of an impact heading into Saturday?
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even look at it like that, but I'm glad you did because it definitely showed in their play. And I think specifically in their offensive ability to score, like the good thing about Wisconsin is they're always at their best as a program in general, like history-wise, when they're able to play free. They're able to play in a flowing, non-thinking, shoot first when you're open, not pass second. Like it's like a lot of times I saw in the games that because I got a chance to look at the Wake Forest game, some of the games even in the Bahamas, is that they actually took the time to think before they were open. Like sometimes you just gotta let that thing fly, and they did. I think T-Wall, what he had like 2 threes, and I think over the years, obviously he's not necessarily known as a 3-point shooter, but he was, he was shooting the ball well. He did well with that, and then, Chucky obviously stepped up to the plate, but it was just their flow overall as a team that usually in those type of games, I wasn't that confident in, the team being able to pull it out, Wisconsin, but they did because they stayed pedal to the metal and they kept being aggressive and just letting the flow of the game take over, which was huge.
No, that's a really good point. And in a game like that, people not outside of the state of Wisconsin and those two programs don't realize how big that rivalry is, especially on the Marquette side,
Yeah.
and how crazy then the Bradley Center, now the Fiserv Forum. I'm telling you, that environment for that game is up there with any environment in the country, like Duke,
Yeah,
North
always is.
Carolina. That might sound crazy to outsiders, but the game it's no joke in Wisconsin. And something that I thought was a big key for each team was, okay, will Marquette get off to a quick start and have
Yeah.
make Wisconsin kind of crawl from behind because they're all juiced up for the rivalry? Wisconsin hasn't had a road test yet. But no, it went the other way where actually Wisconsin was the one throwing the first punch. They were locked in right from the get-go. And it just that was a key that I predicted. If you watch my last video, I predicted that Marquette was going to get off to a quick start, and that was going to be the reason they won. And you had guys all over the place stepping up for Wisconsin, and I think that first half was as good as Wisconsin could have played. You had Kamari McGee, who hasn't played in multiple games, have 5 points on back-to-back possessions. I
Yes,
mean,
big time for him. Big
yeah,
time for
Steven
him.
Crowell. Steven Crowell had a lot of good moments in that game, especially that first half. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about the fact that Crowell punched down on their center.
Yeah,
I didn't see that
he had
coming.
a nice bang out. I looked at the guy, I said, "Oh, I didn't know you had that." I said, "Okay,
Neither
big
did
fella."
I, because that dude, that Oso is an athletic center for Marquette. I mean, he
He
can jump.
reminds me so much of Jared Berger. He reminds me of Berg a lot. Like you don't realize how athletic Berg was back in the day, but like I didn't know Crowd had that
Yeah,
because he's mostly on the perimeter
yeah,
post. But when he did that, I said, "Oh my!" Like he opened my eyes, so that was huge.
yeah, and so kind of talking about people stepping up. It was just all over the board. Basically the whole team step up, and the lid came off for the Badgers really in that first half, where I think they played as good as a first half as they possibly could have played. And particularly Chucky's play obviously was just absurd. The shots he was
Yeah,
hitting, and it wasn't like they were rallying around the hoop and going in. He was just like splashing step back 25 footers, nothing but net.
yeah.
And the game kind of looked like it was trending towards Wisconsin routing Marquette. But all of a sudden, whatever happened at halftime with Chucky or at the end of the half, wherever he got hurt, Chucky got out, and then you can see
Yeah,
Marquette kind of smell blood in the water, and
yeah.
Wisconsin went into survival mode. Because if Wisconsin didn't build that cushion, I don't think they would have won that
It,
game.
different scenario, and I think too. I want to go back to that first time. I want to give a big shout out to McGee because he hadn't played all season, and honestly, I was thinking it'd be interesting to see. I'm not trying to put anything out there, but we're in a different age in college basketball now, where this is a guy that had a lot of success. He did really well at Wisconsin Green Bay, and obviously you did well because you're able to come to a bigger school and a bigger platform, things like that. But for him to stick with it mentally, for him not playing as much, and get in a game like this, come in, hit your first 2 shots, take care of the game, control the game was huge. And quite frankly, I think that like he should be, getting more reps and more opportunities because he does provide more playmaking ability from what I've seen, or more shot making ability rather. Now it's totally different than seeing that in practice. We don't know what's kind of going on,
Mhm.
but to be him to come in like that and to step up was huge because they need guys to come off the bench besides the Season. Season's a hooper. Like I love that dude. That dude he don't think, and
No.
they all played like him, which was
Yes.
I love because when they played like him, it trickled down for the whole team. The world was a confidence you can just feel through the TV. You can feel it that like, oh, they really believe this, that they can come in here. And credit to Marquette because they kept the game going. They kept coming back. They kept driving. They kept attacking, using their athleticism to get to the rim. But I think what prevailed the most was the discipline on the defensive end for Wisconsin. A lot of those last couple possessions. But
Yes.
like you said, when Chucky went down, I think I noticed in his first half at the end, there's like the last play, it was defensive. He was guarding the point guard, and he kind of like reached for his groin. I was like, okay, I wonder what happened. And then he came out, and I was like, okay, that must happen beforehand. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know if they were gonna be able to pull it out after because the way he was playing was
Yeah.
like he looked like All American the way he
Yeah.
was playing. You know what I mean? So for them to sustain it, for him to come back and then help them finish it through, that says a lot about this team.
No, it does. And talk about athleticism. And you and me talked about this a few weeks ago, where I said, and some people are going to look at me crazy. I think you looked at me crazy when I said this.
I ain't look at you crazy.
Well,
I listened to what you were saying first.
yeah. Well, Tyler Wahl. Tyler Wahl, I think, okay, the best athletes in my lifetime, just Wisconsin history, Michael Finley, and that's before my lifetime, but Michael Finley, Devin Harris,
Mhm,
Alondo Tucker, Johnny Davis, and,
mhm.
and, and throw Sam Decker in there too.
Yep.
Um, Tyler Wahl, in my opinion, needs to get talked about as one of the most athletic Badgers of all time. Not because he's going to be dunking on people. I saw a Badger basketball Twitter account say, "Hey, who do you guys think the best athletes are of all time?" And a lot of people were saying, yeah, of course Devin Harris, but some said Khalil Iverson. And I'm not, no disrespect. Actually, I loved Khalil Iverson's game, but that dude could jump up and Khalil and yam like probably the greatest dunker in Wisconsin history. But
Mhm.
if we're talking about like speed and agility, Wahl
Mhm.
is kind of up there with anybody because Wahl is D'ing up guards like it's nothing. I've never seen a big guy like that make guards fall over because he's anticipating and moving his feet and beating them to the spot. He's always been a good athlete, but this year I really noticed the first game of the year against South Dakota, he's zipping around the court like a
Yeah.
gazelle on defense. And Wahl, in my opinion, everyone talks about the athleticism of Marquette, and they are a very athletic team. But I'm telling you, I think Wahl was the best athlete on the court when you consider speed and agility. Because that
Yeah.
guy, he made Omax, who he had a decent game, and most of his points came from the free throw line. But
Mhm.
Omax has been looking like an NBA prospect all year. I mean,
Mhm.
and when you go against Wahl, you don't look like an NBA prospect a lot of the time. And then when you got
Yeah.
switched on to David Joplin for Marquette, who was a decent athlete, but more of like a shooter.
Mhm.
And it's funny, Joplin took it took it to the hoop on Wahl, and I just knew, I'm like, okay, it's just not going to happen. He's never going to be able to score off the bounce on Wahl. Wahl D'd
Yeah.
him up, and it was kind of funny. I think he drove to the right side, and Joplin goes up for a shot, and Wall's just D'ing him up. He had no
Yep.
space, so he kind of threw up a terrible shot. But he knew it was a terrible shot. He was forced to take a terrible shot by Wahl. He realized it was a terrible shot, so he crashed for the rebound and laid it in. But it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. He's like, Wall's great defense kind of led to a bucket there because Joplin threw some trash. He knew it was trash, laid it back in. But
Yep.
I just think Wahl did a phenomenal job on the defensive end of making Omax, slowing them down. People were very
Yeah.
high heading into the game. A buddy of mine who's a huge Marquette fan was just like, well, they have no one athletic enough for Omax. No
Yeah.
one's nearly athletic enough. I'm like, well, Tyler Wahl is a really good athlete, and people don't realize that. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts? What are your reactions
Well, it's
tonight?
a good point you're bringing up because when you told me that, I initially pushed back because I didn't listen to what you were saying, but then when I listened to you, I understood exactly what you meant, and I will give T. Wall that that title as far as one of the most athletic guys to come through because he plays multiple positions
Yeah.
and he's able to handle the ball and kind of slither his way through the lane. He's
Yes.
able to defend 1 through 5. He's able to take the ball on a break and do certain things, and it's like when you put athleticism in that context, it does make sense. And it's not like he can't jump. Like the dude is 6'9". He's a decent jump. Like, you know what I mean? He can hold his own. So I think when he was guarding, the thing we got to think about Wisconsin defense, even going back to days with Bo, the way we played defense negated athleticism, and the way the college rules are set up, the way Wisconsin was set it up is they use the college rules to the advantage to negate athleticism. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, you can stay in the lane, right?
Yeah.
And so there's no defensive three in the key, so the game is tighter. Secondly, yesterday was very, very physical. One of the most physical games I've seen in college in a while, which was good. But guard and the rest of the staff teach chesting up
Yeah.
when a guy is driving. So like they had a drive in the first half. Wisconsin had a turnover, came down. Guy Marquette threw the ball up, missed it, but the whole time T. Wall is keeping his hands up and he's putting his chest.
Yeah.
Percentage wise, even going this back in high school, percentage wise, guys shots go down like 50% when you put your chest and you go straight up when you wall up, because most guys can't do, that when just a strict brick wall. Most guys are used to hands coming down. We practice that, right?
Yeah.
So they took away a lot of Omax's athleticism just because I'm going to make you make a counter, not just
Yes.
use straight down lane,
Yeah.
downhill, and just make one move and jump. No, you're going to have to make a euro. You're going to have to make a spin. You're going to have to make a step. You're going to have to do something more. And a lot of college guys don't necessarily have that yet in their game, or they don't have the confidence to do that part in their game where they don't show it. And so Wisconsin did a good job of making sure, especially Ty Wall in general, exploiting that and making sure that, okay, hey, if we can get them to get a tough shot, it gives our chances of getting the rebound going towards the other end. And on the flip side, on the offensive end, you did see Wisconsin doing the counters, right?
Yeah.
You did see them doing the Euros. You did see Chucky making, a couple moves into a step back, going, and then now that opened up the lane for everybody. So now you see guys having wide open threes, and they just were able to knock them down.
Yeah. No, and that's a great point right there. And let's dive a little bit into the second half there, where
Yeah,
Marquette smelt that blow in the water when Chucky was down, and two huge buckets without Chucky right to start the first half. I believe they
yeah, it
had a
was.
two, and then Jordan Davis hit a
Mhm,
three to balloon the lead up by 16. Because it was interesting. I was like, I think Marquette's going to come back,
mhm.
and that those two buckets right away without Chucky were so huge, just so they could survive long enough. And then Chucky came back, and Chucky's return, and even before we get into Chucky's return, I got to give Max Klesmit a huge shout out for
Yeah,
Wisconsin,
did
where
well.
he was tough as nails. He played the point guard. He was making winning plays on both sides of the ball. Um, I mean, people are going to get tired of hearing this, but he's got a lot of Brad Davis in him, or
Yeah,
Davison. He's got a lot of Brad Davison in him, where he is just he's a winner. He's a
yeah.
chippy glue guy. And he can score. He can really D up. It was a very impressive performance by him to just kind of weather the storm and help Wisconsin reach that finish line of getting Chucky back in the game.
Yep.
So
Now I told you, I think on a different conversation, historically the program has always had one glue guy, right?
yeah,
You go back, you had Jason Bohannon, then you had Josh with us, and then you had Brad after that. And when I mean glue guy, most of the times people think that like, oh, they're not necessarily skilled in other areas. No, they're able to do multiple things at multiple different positions, and that's what makes their value so much higher. So the Klesmit guy, the player, he came from Central Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or somewhere.
Wofford.
Wofford, okay. Came from Wofford. Um, I liked him. I liked him a lot just because if you notice what guard is doing, I can tell his trust isn't completely there with the backups, McGee, Isaac Lindsey,
Yeah.
um, because he's not usually there's always a two guard rotation, right? He's kind of throwing different guys in at the point. Even T. Wall at the times is taking the point. So it was huge for them to respond the way that they did when Chucky went out, and he was able to kind of carry the load for them to keep them at a calm state to where it's like, okay, we don't got to panic. It's okay. Secondly, I want to give a big shout out to Jordan Davis too because uh, he's been kind of going through some ups and downs as far as offensively, and I
Mm,
think for him to stick with it and to hit some big shots and make some big plays. He's always going to be in the right place at the right time when it comes defensively, when it comes to, making the right plays and spacing and things like that. His literal next step is just hitting shots. And hitting shots has nothing to do with anything else besides a mentality, a mental thing, and confidence. And so it was just good to see him still hit those shots, be confident, hit some of those shots that he did hit, especially that one to start out the first half of that second half because you had two options from there. It could either go wrong when Chucky went down,
yeah.
or it could either be an opportunity for you guys. Hey, let's see what we got. And let's carry what we can as much as we can. They did that, so it was a big, big, big step for them, and that was impressive to see.
And on the other side, just credit has to be given to Marquette. They were tough that second half. They were
Mhm.
scrappy. They played confident. They're never out of the game. When Cam Jones, the lefty shooter for
Yeah,
them, when he's on, they're no lead safe. No
they just
lead
got an
safe.
awkward. Like Shaka Smart always had that awkward play though. Like
Yeah.
it's super aggressive. I'm gonna put my head down. You got Cam Jones lefty. I'm gonna just go left hand. It's just like, man, those was I feel like the hardest teams to play because they never stop coming at you.
Yeah.
They're always gonna make the game and put the game in the ref's hands to make the ref make a decision. And
Yes.
that causes you on the offensive end. I gotta be aggressive too. I can't just come down and just, let's just make the right read and 5 seconds left, shoot it. No, I gotta be aggressive too. Because if I'm not, they're coming right down. First open shot, they're hitting it. And it's not even like they're like amazing shooters, but their confidence and their aggression and how Shaka Smart plays. That's all his teams is like that, even since the VCU days. So yeah, they definitely made some. That's their identity. I would say that's definitely Marquette's identity.
Yeah. 100%. That was an impressive second half run they made, and they made that run, and it was the score was pretty close, and then Chucky made a return that was legendary. It's like it was just crazy. It was like straight off a movie. Like he could barely run. Like he was basically like 40-year-old Dirk Nowitzki out there. I mean, you remember that fast break play where he gets back on defense and Marquette's
Yeah, just
Kolick
let him go.
is driving to the hoop and Chucky was trying to run. He just physically couldn't because of his hamstring.
Yeah.
But the
Was that
fact
what
that
it
he
was? What
came
did they
back
say?
in,
What was the issue that they
what was
said he
that?
had dealt with? What was the issue that they say he dealt with?
Yeah, he's got it was a hamstring. I don't know what kind of hamstring, but
Oh,
I
okay.
saw they had I forgot what that like that massage gun is. There was a
Okay.
huge wrap on his hamstring, and then there was like a
Okay.
massage gun that they were
Okay.
doing in between like the huddles, like kneading out that muscle.
Okay.
So yeah, he had a hamstring, and I mean those aren't easy to play on when your hamstring's messed up.
Mm-mm.
And he comes back, it just shows toughness and in leading up to that, we'll dive in more into Chucky's play, but I think Wisconsin this year has a lot of dogs on their team,
Mhm.
like that dog mindset. Like
Mhm.
you look at Chucky, you look at Asijian off the bench, Klesmit, Wahl. It goes on. Like there's some tough dudes. They willed that win. Like that was just grit.
Mhm.
Like just being able to maintain that lead. Just not let Marquette come back like that. They had resistance. And then when Chucky comes back in, Chucky, I just can't get over the fact that he comes back in and he can barely run. He was like that 40-year-old point guard who's still sticking around the NBA. I mean, he can't run, but he was still making winning plays.
Yeah. Yeah. Now he did. And the toughness part you're talking about, that's something that I think has always been an identity for the program for Wisconsin. So to see that part wasn't necessarily as eye opening to me, just because I know what the staff preaches. I know what it is they instill. Right. The part was that they were able to add the offensive ability to make shots on top of that.
Yeah,
Now you start to make a niche for yourself because you don't have too many teams that do that. If they can do this consistently, make shots, and not just make shots, but be aggressive to take the shots. Before you even make the shots, you got to take them.
yeah,
There were shots that they were taking that they normally would pass up. I still would like to see them push the ball a little bit more, especially on misses.
yeah,
So a lot of times, Chucky did a great job of calming the team down and do, but they can get a little bit more possessions, right? Because I know they're going to take care of the ball, they're going to do things like that, but he can get a little bit more easier possessions where he can get to his little pull up off
yeah,
of a transition ball screen coming into the lane, wide open pull up, wide open floater, wide open get to the lane, or wide open get into the lane, drive and kick off of transition. Because what started to happen, there was a couple times where I did notice that they elected to set the ball up off of a missed basket. It was like, no, go. Because now you're giving a chance for an athletic team to go set up their defense. And now I got five guys all looking at me versus a couple of heads looking this way, a couple of heads running back.
yeah,
Right. It's always easier to score like that. So I think that's their next step for them. The toughness is there, the foundation is there. Their next step is being able to mix up the flow of how because the flow of the offense is great in the half court. Now add the transition to it.
yeah.
Now they got a chance.
Yeah, no, I agree. They have some guys, with Asijian and Klesmit who can spot up at the threes,
Yeah.
run the floor to the threes. Chucky can find them. You can outlet it to Wall, and Wall can
Hmm.
you can slither in and try getting a layup. No,
He tried a couple times. He
yeah,
tried a couple times where he threw it up to Wall, but it was like you can tell it's not in the DNA yet that like, hey, we can. And part of that comes with trust. Guard's gonna because they put such a premium on taking care of the ball. But the thing I always appreciated about guard is they don't care if you push the ball; they just care if you take care of it. So push the ball, and if you don't like it, just take it out. But if you don't push it, now you don't even have the opportunity for these easy buckets.
yeah,
That's going to take their scoring averages way higher. That's why they were able to score 80 this game
yeah.
versus 50s and 40s like that
Dayton
because
game.
the other games like that. So, and they kind of did that in Wake Forest a little
Yeah,
bit. And they started I just want them to keep it up
yeah.
throughout the Big Ten. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and the last two games are encouraging for Badger fans offensively,
Hmm.
where Wisconsin showed that they can win a game now if it goes up to the
Hmm.
70s or 80s, or they can at least compete when the game gets a little higher scoring. So
Yep.
you know, getting towards the end of the first half, Marquette finally took the lead, and I really thought Marquette was going to win. I really did, because without
You
Chucky
a
being
Marquette fan,
healthy
huh?
and
You was a
barely
Marquette
being able
fan,
to
huh?
run, I just didn't think that they physically could. I didn't think they could win. When Marquette went up by 1 with 50 seconds, I was like, yeah, Marquette's going to win. Then all of a sudden, Chucky takes a shot harder than, hate to bring this up, the Aaron Harrison shot against you
Oh
guys. That was
yeah,
probably
yeah,
tougher. Like, that was
yeah. No, it was tough.
Chucky took a step back 25-footer with, a hand in his face, on the road, down 1, injured, nails it, nothing but that to put him on 2. And I was like, that's ridiculous. That confidence from Chucky was impressive.
Did you want to see Marquette win?
My opinion doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter here. Yeah.
That was a good answer. That's a good answer, man.
Yeah. Hey, professional.
Nah, it was Chucky. Chucky showed me a lot, man. He showed me a whole lot, because I knew the thing I appreciate about his game is he has a maturity about his game that is very key for his growth and his establishment. I think yesterday was the day that I still would like to see him even be a little bit more aggressive, but he dealt with his injury, so I get it. I understand that. I think yesterday when he played, I think he only missed 1 shot, right?
Yep.
I want him to get to the point where it's okay to miss 5. It's okay to miss 6, because you at least took them, right? And the reason why I say that is because he's the player on the team, besides everybody. I think a season you can kind of put him in that place too. He's the one player that can create his shot on the perimeter. T. Wahl can create a shot, but his is more in the paint, right?
And it's tough for T-Ball right now because his 3-point percentage, he's gotten off to a slower start. We talked about if Wahl can, and he made a 3, which is huge for his confidence. But if Wahl can be a respectable 3-point shooter, that opens up his game entirely. Where okay, all of a sudden teams have to D up on him 20 feet away from the hoop. He's going to drive by you, and then more people will see the athleticism. But go on.
No, you're right. And his thing is just literally mental. His form is perfect. Like, he doesn't have a bad shot at all. It's like, it's literally mental. It's when he misses, don't be emotional about it. How did I miss? Is it long? Okay, I need to get it up. Is it short? I need to get it up. If it's left or right, I need to get my balance. It's very simple, right? Yeah. Chucky, on the other hand, he's able to break guys down off of step backs, off of pull-ups. I think the next part of him is just getting a consistent floater, right? But other than that, if he is able to do that on a consistent basis, now the team is going to be that much more elevated, because now they're going to start having more, right? They're going to start having more attention on Chucky, which he's a willing passer. He made some great passes yesterday too. Throughout the whole season he does as well, but he made some great passes. And that's going to allow the team to now be more of a threat where all 5 guys on the court. Because the issue at times when they run into is there's only 1 or 2 guys that can score, right? Then we can all collapse on you. And Marquette started off by doing that. That's why they doubled the post. They said, we know you guys are going to go on the post. We're going to double, and we're going to make you guys make a decision. It started to work at first, right? Because, okay, Wisconsin got a couple threes. Other times, Crowell, T. Wahl kind of got some tough positions, and now they're getting turnovers, which I think can just be alleviated by just catching the ball and facing, inviting the double team, face, now look open. And that's what they did in the second half. So their next evolution now is, okay, if we can do this inside and outside and be aggressive in transition, and now Chucky, now you got to start putting him on, the Cousy Award watch list, because that's a recipe for winning, and that's a recipe for, the next that next level of teams for them to get to.
Yeah, dude. And moving into overtime and those passes that Chucky made, he made 2 off the top of my head. One was the Wahl where he kind of looked off. He looked off the defenders, looked left, looked right, hit it to Wahl for a wide open layup, and then obviously he had the assist on the game winning basket by Klesmit. But one other thing is just talking about Jordan Davis not shying away. We mentioned this earlier, but he had his moments. He had a nice drive in the first half of that 3 in the second, but by and large, it was a rough game for Jordan. And he in overtime he turned the ball over and one like almost like 3 possessions in a row. I know this was back to back, and then I think it was back to back to back. He turns the ball over, he hits the top of the backboard on a corner 3, and guard goes to pull him out. And then right after that, he nails a 3 in overtime, like a huge 3. That was some mental toughness right there. That was really impressive.
Now his next step, honestly, is he's in a position to where he's probably never had to be in this position, but on the wing, his first option is catch and shoot, right? And if you don't model your game after that, it can be kind of a hard adjustment, right? So he can do it, but it may not be his major comfort zone. Versus a Connor Season, that's his game.
Yep.
His first option is catch and shoot. So it looks from the outside looking in like, oh, he's doing better. Well, no, the system is set up better for his style of play. So the thing for Jordan to take that next step is just stick through it. The mental things that you're going to go through, missing, turnover, it's okay. Stick through it. Make the game simple. Catch and shoot, boom, pump fake, 1-2 dribble, pull up, get to the lane, pump fake, 1-2 dribble, counter, get to the free throw line. That always helps your confidence. And I think for him yesterday, because defensively, you don't really see him make mistakes or anything. He's always in the right position. He can guard 1 through 4 pretty much because he's a big, solid dude. You know what I mean? His next thing is just embracing that's and as far as we talk about transition, in transition, that will affect a guy like his offense majorly. Because now I don't have to think as much. I can just use my athleticism to my advantage where I can go versus in the half court all the time. Now I'm in a situation with 3-4 seconds to go and I got to make a decision and I got to make this shot with a guy in my face. And it's like, no, let's get him the easy ones first, right? So I think a lot of hoopers and a lot of players understand this. If you're in a position that's not normal for you, like for me when I played, for me at the time when I played in college, I wasn't a catch and shoot guy at all. So to be off the ball was kind of a hindrance. I could do it, but it wasn't a strength. That's kind of his next progression in his career is if he can add that on top of what he has, now you got depth at the wing. Now you got depth at the point, and the same thing for all the other positions too.
Yeah. No, that's great insight, T. Jackson. Thank you for that. And then to finish it off, we got Wahl. I think something that cracked me up is I think maybe about a minute 30 left. He takes it, or I think he isolated Omax on Marquette and did a little Euro, laid it in, and he's like taunting the crowd after that and like waving at the crowd. Is like, dude, there's a minute 30 left. Like, get back on defense. Like that would have been pretty bad. I couldn't imagine guards' reaction if Wahl is too busy taunting the other student section. They like,
it looked like he wanted Marquette to win. It sounded like he wanted Marquette to win, man. It's just saying.
Oh no. Maybe I wanted Wisconsin. Maybe I wanted Marquette. I think that's my job. I'm trying to be professional here. I don't want people to know.
You do a good job of hiding it. You do a good job of hiding it. It's good.
All right. And then lastly, we got Chucky had the game-winning assist to Max Klesmit. His guard said that was just he willed it. He had a hard cut to the hoop. Actually, he just kind of knows how to play the game. He had a hard cut to the hoop. Chucky found him, put it in over a 6'8" Omax, and Wisconsin won the game. So my final question as we wrap up this game review is, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about this team going forward after watching this performance?
It's a great question. I think I would say the main lessons I learned was defensively, I'm not really impressed by a lot of different things simply because I already expected that from them.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a knock. It's just that's normal. Like, y'all going to do that. What impressed me was the offensive output that they did where they were able to combine that with their superb defensive ability, right? And what I mean by that, they were able to go bucket for bucket, right? They were able – that showed me that, no, you have the capability to do it. Now, mentally, you just have to make a decision to do this in practice, to do this in the game after game after game. Don't get to the point where you tighten up and now I just want to go back to the last 5 seconds in the shot clock just because you missed some shots.
Yeah.
Right. And they hadn't been shooting well. Chucky in particular, up until the Wake Forest game, they hadn't really been shooting well this season. Right. So for him to put together back-to-back games, what do you have? 20 again? He should have had 20 if he wouldn't have got hurt. I know for sure. Basically, back-to-back games at 20 to me showed, okay, if you guys need a bucket, go here. Y'all can go here, or y'all can go to T-Wall, which is huge. The season kid, that's Tyler Hero Jr. Like the way
I see a lot of that.
He got a lot of game. It showed me toughness with Max Klesmit. He did very well being able to handle the team when Chucky wasn't out there. And it showed me a lot about the McGee kid as well, too. That, okay, I hope that he gets more opportunities throughout the year. And then Stephen Crowell, he's Mr. Consistent. He's silent out there, but he just does the right thing. He'll dunk on you, hit the three, finish at the in the lane at the rim. If they can actually do this, I don't see why they can't play with anybody. They're going to give themselves an opportunity. For them to take that next step, it's going to have to come through Chucky. It's going to have to go through T-Wall for them to go that elite step. So we'll see if they can do that, and hopefully they can.
Awesome. No, this was a great review, T-Jax. Thank you for coming on.
You, man. I appreciate it.
This is the first segment of game reaction with T. Jackson. We'll see if we have more down the road. But T-Jax, thank you very much for coming on the show.
I appreciate it, man. Definitely. And I can say it. I was going for Wisconsin. I know you ain't going to say it, but I definitely was going for Wisconsin. That environment is like no other. I think Milwaukee, had the best fans that I've ever played in front of in the state of Wisconsin. We played there my Sweet 16 year against Oregon, and that in American too. And it was amazing. At that time, it was the Bradley Center, and it was amazing. So to see, it's a different feel in Milwaukee when you go there and play. It's a different atmosphere. It's loud too. So it was a lot of fun, man. Thanks for having me, and I'm proud of you, bro. Keep going. This is a great show.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And let's not forget, I just got to hype you up for a second. Let's not forget, you were balling out in Milwaukee against American and Oregon. NCAA all-region team. Let's not forget that, people.
I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Have a good one.
You too.